These are the main parameters, and we can classify these parameters into 3 or 4 broad headings. The first one is the physical parameter. And coming to the physical parameter, you can see that these are the observable or measurable without any kind of chemical testing. We are not checking about what kind of chemicals are present. We will be checking, these are the main feature. For example, temperature. What is the temperature of the water? And importance of temperature of water is that will be influencing the dissolved oxygen level. For example, you take a cold water, cool water, and a hot water or warm water. Warm water always contains less oxygen. So in a pond, when the temperature of the water is more, that will be containing less oxygen. Less oxygen means less suitable for the survival of fish and other aquatic organisms. So that is the importance of temperature. When temperature increase, amount of oxygen normally dissolved in the water also decreases, and that will affect the life of aquatic organism. So that is how the temperature is influencing, and temperature is also speeding up the rate of chemical reaction as well as biological reaction. For example, if biological decomposition is there, higher the temperature, faster the rate of spoilage, or faster the rate of decomposition, or faster the rate of decay. Another factor that is influencing is the turbidity. Turbidity means how much amount of suspended matter. For example, you take a water and put some soil in that and just stir it thoroughly. After some time, you can see that the glass of water will be brown in color. That is because the soil particles will be floating or suspending in the water, and that means turbidity of water increases. So turbidity occurs when something is dissolved in water, and that will be reducing the clarity or clearness of the water, so that light cannot easily pass through it. So turbidity means measure of clarity of the water. High turbidity may indicate pollution from sediments and other microorganisms. The problem is that when turbidity or lot of soil particles are dissolved in the water, what happens is that sunlight may not be able to penetrate deeper into the depth of the water, or depth of the pond, or depth of the river. That means only on the top surface the planktonic organism or photosynthetic organism can survive. At a deeper level, the photosynthetic organism like plankton, etc., they may not be able to do photosynthesis. So that is a problem when the turbidity of the water is increasing. Turbidity reduces the penetration of the sunlight into the deep water, so that less photosynthesis may be taking place. Another factor is the color. May suggest the presence of organic matter or industrial waste. For example, if you have water that is deep red in color, it may be indicating that water will be containing a lot of iron. Similarly, if there is a lot of copper, then a bluish color can happen. So like that, the color is an indication. And similarly, sometimes you can see that our sewage water that may be brown in color. All this because of industrial waste, other organic matter. When organic particles like animal waste or plant waste are present in water, what happens is that they will be decaying, and decaying release a lot of brownish colored material that will be giving the color of the water as a deep brown. So the color of the water is another physical parameter. Then odor means smell as well as the taste of the water. Unpleasant odor or taste may indicate contamination by organic compounds and sewage or industrial waste. So the problem is that even though animals are living, fish and other insects are living in the water, they also prefer clear water. A clear water always have better animal life as well as a plant life. When the smell of the water, the odor of the water, as well as the taste of the water is different from the normal water, animals which are used to live in that water may be finding it more difficult to survive there. Then another is TSS, total suspended solid. How much amount of solid particle or soil particle or other kinds of particles are suspended in the water. That is an indication of the pollution. More TSS means more water pollution. So solid particles that are suspended in water, that can be filtered out. So that is known as a total but the problem is that when water is containing more amount of TSS or total suspended particle, the rate of water treatment or rate of filtration, the treating that water become more expensive. So compared to the water that is more clear, a water that contains a lot of TSS or suspended particles, suspended solid in that may take longer time to purify it. So last year we went to Aluva Aluva water treatment plant of Kerala Water Authority. There they are showing all these things, how they are clearing the water, how they are purifying the water. All this we can directly, their big tanks are there. If possible here also we will take you. Then the chemical parameters. These reflect the chemical composition of the water. That these are the main factors which are coming under the chemical composition: pH, dissolved oxygen, BOD, and chemical COD. pH refers to what is acidic or alkaline nature. You might have studied about pH. A pH of 7 is always called a neutral pH, and pH is less than 7 means acidity of the water is increasing. Above 7, the alkalinity of the water is increasing. So normally most of the water will be having a pH between 6.5 and 8.5. That level of pH is more suitable for the survival of most of the living organisms. So that means a water which has a pH of less than 6.5 is not offering a good environment or a biologically suitable environment for the survival of most of the aquatic organisms. Similarly, above 8.5 also the animals will have to struggle. The alkalinity of the water is increasing. So for a suitable range of pH is usually between around the 7, that is 6.5 to 8 or 8.5 up to 8.5 is okay. Another is the dissolved oxygen. So the essential for aquatic life, low DO or dissolved oxygen can indicate pollution. So normally how the pollutants are affecting is when some organic pollutants are entering the water, they will be taking a lot of oxygen for the oxidation. In chemistry you might have studied about that. Oxidation is a kind of chemical change that takes a lot of oxygen. So when pollutants, organic pollutants are entering into the water, they will be absorbing a lot of oxygen. And this, and as a result, what happens is that amount of oxygen normally dissolved in the water decreases, so that fish and other aquatic organisms, they may not be able to get enough oxygen. So chemical, any kind of pollution will be reducing the dissolved oxygen. When dissolved oxygen is reduced, fish and all other organisms which are living in the aquatic water, may face it more harder to live. So that is a problem of dissolved oxygen. Another idea is biochemical oxygen demand. In case of biochemical oxygen demand, usually known as BOD, measure the amount of oxygen required by bacteria to decompose an organic matter. So this is how the BOD is usually defined. It is a measure of oxygen required by bacteria to decompose an organic matter. High BOD indicates high pollution. So here you can see that when a water is containing lot of organic matter, there will be lot of bacteria and more oxygen will be taken by the bacteria. So high BOD means more pollutants are present. Low BOD means less pollutants are present. So this way we will be able to check whether water is of good quality or potable nature, or water is very pure, water is pure or impure, based on how much is the BOD. So high BOD normally indicates lot of bacteria are present in that. Another idea is the chemical oxygen demand. Total oxygen required to oxidize both organic as well as inorganic matter. So in case of biological oxygen or biochemical oxygen demand, that will be mainly focusing on the bacteria. But here we are actually taking both organic matter as well as inorganic matter into consideration. So total oxygen required to oxidize both organic and inorganic matter. High COD indicates contamination. If for example, some water is coming from a chemical factory, they are releasing their chemical waste into the river. So if you check the COD, chemical oxygen demand of that water will be containing high COD. That indicates that lot of chemical inorganic substance have been released into the water. So that water is, all the oxygen present in the water is taken by these particles for oxidation. So the chemical oxygen demand of the water will be increasing. So high BOD or high COD, whatever is the case, is always indicating some kind of pollution, maybe organic pollution or be inorganic pollution. So this is an idea of what are the different chemical parameters: pH, dissolved oxygen, BOD as well as COD. Then we have some more substances are there: nitrates, phosphates, heavy metals, etc. High levels of nitrate and nitrate both are harmful to infant. Sometimes what happens is when we are taking groundwater, this groundwater may sometimes contain a lot of nitrates or nitrate. So if children are taking this, especially young babies are taking that, that can be harmful for them. Then often originate from fertilizer and sewage. So nitrate or nitrate, because most of the chemical fertilizer that we are using contain a lot of nitrogen as well as phosphorus. So if that water is entering into the river water or pond water and we are consuming that, naturally our body will be also taking lot of nitrate or nitrate into that, and that may not be very good for children, especially young babies. Then phosphate, often from detergent, the soap water, and all this will be containing lot of phosphate, and if that is released into a pond, that pond will be containing lot of phosphate and can cause eutrophication. Sometimes you might have seen that some ponds will be having a lot of. So eutrophication simply means it is completely covered with the green. Here you can see this kind of situation is known as a eutrophication, an overgrowth of algae. So algae will be multiplying most of the time. This the reason for that excess amount of phosphate. Phosphate is a mineral that can trigger the multiplication of algae. So more phosphate in the water means more multiplication of algae, more production of algae, and they will be simply multiplying in large quantity, large number, and will be covering the water, and that will be giving a green blanket. But first it looks quite fine, but what happens is that after some weeks this algae will die and they will be settling into the water. When they are dying, they will be decomposing, and this decomposition or decaying of the algae will take a lot of oxygen. So as a result, what happens is that the BOD of the water will be increasing and oxygen may not be available for fish and other aquatic organisms. So first it looks like a good site, but after few weeks the site, then what happens, they will be dying and the water becomes first green, they will be gradually turning into a deep brownish in color. So that is the problem of eutrophication. Then we have heavy metals like toxic, like lead, mercury, or arsenic. All these are highly toxic. In the last class I have discussed about that. Then another material is hardness. As far as the hardness is concerned, hardness is of the water is mainly caused by calcium. Are you able to hear? Kelkamo? Okay, so hardness of the water is mainly caused by calcium or magnesium salt, and that will be affecting the taste as well as used in industrial process. So that is also a problem. Then total dissolved solid, TDS. Sometimes you might have heard about that. This indicates the combined content of all organic and inorganic substance. Affects the palatability and suitability for irrigation. So these are the substances which are affecting the chemical. These are the chemical parameters which are affecting the water quality. Then we have biological parameters. As far as the biological parameters concerned, there are coliform bacteria is there. So coliform bacteria, we will be studying about coliform bacteria soon. The presence of coliform bacteria is indicating fecal contamination, about which I will be coming in later, soon. Then another is algal bloom. Already I told you, if there is too much phosphorus in the water, that will be triggering multiplication of algae, and that will be leading to overgrowth of algae. And finally what happens is that this algae will be releasing lot of poisonous or substance into the water that can kill the fish, and when the algae is dying, that will be taking all the oxygen, then only fish die. So eutrophication or algal bloom is always harmful for the growth of the fish. Then pathogens are there. Bacteria, virus, protozoan. These are the common pathogens, and these pathogens can cause a lot of diseases. Then one more parameter is the radiological parameter. The presence of alpha and beta part. For example, you go to Kollam, Chavara area. In that area, if you take water, that will be containing a lot of illuminate. Illuminate is a mineral of thorium. So thorium is a radioactive material. So So when you are drinking that water containing lot of thorium or illuminate, what happens is that this thorium can gradually enter your body and it can affect your body cell, especially DNA, and it can cause a lot of DNA changes or mutation. So what happens is that sometimes the babies developing in people, they may have some kind of birth defects. So these are the problems of radiological contamination. Radon is a radioactive gas that contaminates groundwater. So when we are drinking groundwater, always this problem is there. So unless if you are continuously regularly taking groundwater, it is very important that you have to check this groundwater for the presence of radon, for the presence of nitrate, for the presence of arsenic, or for the presence of copper. All this we have to check. Otherwise, long-term regular use of a groundwater, if it contains something, is not good for your body. So these are the different parameters which are coming under the parameters of water quality. I have discussed almost all the parameters in different heading. Then we have to see what is a fecal bacteria. Earlier under the biological, here I was discussing about coliform bacteria. Now we have to understand what is a coliform bacteria. Coliform bacteria are present in the environment and feces of warm-blooded animal. Feces means excretory matter. So when animals and including human beings are releasing their waste material into the water or into the soil and water will be containing this bacteria, and that bacteria normally present in feces are known by the name fecal bacteria. So there are different type of fecal bacteria. The most common type of fecal bacteria is E. coli, Escherichia coli. So coliform bacteria are unlikely to cause illness. However, their presence in drinking water may indicate disease-causing organism could be present. So I will show you how the coliform bacteria is present. So this is the E. coli. Here you can see these are the type of bacteria which we call as E. coli. So they have a whip-like structure like this. Then their body is with a lot of hair-like projections are there. So that is why we call it by the E. coli. So here what the problem with E. coli is that E. coli is not going to create any kind of problem. But when E. coli is present, other harmful bacteria can also be present. So E. coli is an indication. If E. coli is present in a water, it is a sure sign that other sort of bacteria can also be present. So most pathogens that contaminate water supply come from feces or of humans or animals. So testing drinking water for all possible pathogen is a complex, time-consuming, expensive. So what is the importance of E. coli is that we are not going to check the water for presence of all the bacteria. It is an expensive process. One easier way is taking for E. coli. If E. coli is present, we will assume that this water contains bacteria. If the E. coli bacteria is present, then normally other sort of bacteria can also be present, and that means this water is not safe for drinking. So that is the idea of presence of E. coli. So E. coli is therefore considered as an indication, or we call as an indicator bacteria. Then normally we use the name fecal indicator bacteria. So fecal indicator bacteria primarily is E. coli. If E. coli is detected in a water, it shows that this water contains bacteria and is not suitable for food. So that is the idea given by E. coli. If testing detects the coliform bacteria in water, search for the source of contamination, restore the safe drinking water. So here you can find how they are performing E. coli. It's a very simple mechanism. If E. coli is present, the color of the water will be turning into it turns into yellow. So if otherwise, it will remain red itself. So it's a very simple test. That is why E. coli test is commonly used. So if E. coli is present, other sort of bacteria are also present. Then there are three kinds of E. coli. Coliform bacteria are each is an indicator of drinking water quality and has a different level of risk. Total coliform bacteria. There are different type of bacteria under which one type is known as a fecal coliform, only present in fecus. Then E. coli is a subform of fecal coliform bacteria. So normally even though we are using the term coliform, there are different type of coliform bacteria are there. Only one type of coliform bacteria are surviving in water. That bacteria is known by the name fecal coliform, and most commonly the E. coli is the most common type of coliform bacteria. Then total coliform bacteria in the environment are generally harmless. So how we are testing it? If a lab detects only total coliform bacteria in the drinking water, source is probably environmental and fecal contamination. So environmental and fecal contamination is unlikely. So here you can see that there are different categories of total coliform bacteria, and fecal coliform bacteria is only one type of coliform. And if when we are checking water, we are getting only coliform bacteria. We are not getting any fecal coliform. That indicates that there is no fecal contamination and there is only environmental contamination. How fecal contamination is taking place? Normally what is happening is that normally what is happening is that this is how the fecal contamination is normally taking place. So when septic tanks are overflowing, see what happens is that when there is an overflow septic tank, water will be entering into this particle. So this is how normally there is no proper picture is there. So this is how the normally it is happening when septic tanks are off during rainy season. Most of the septic tanks will be filled with water, covered with the water, and water may be entering from the small holes, and then water is coming out. That water will be containing a lot of bacteria. So that is how the fecal coliform bacteria is mixing with the normal water, and that normal water that water containing fecal bacteria is also mixing with the well water or pond water, and we are taking that for drinking. Our body will be also taking this bacteria. They are very small particles, and we will not be able to detect with our naked eye. So that is the problem with the fecal bacteria. So this is how the fecal bacteria is not normally entering in your body. So if so fecal coliform bacteria are a subgroup of total coliform bacteria. They exist in intestine and feces of people. Only in the intestine, and I will show you how fecal coliform bacteria is here. See, this is how these are all fecal coliform bacteria, and this is how we are testing that. So most of the time they are present in the digestive system of farm animals, human beings, wildlife and pets. So presence of E. coli is a subgroup of fecal coliform bacteria, and here you can see they are mostly harmless, but their presence indicates other type of, but there is one kind of E. coli bacteria known as E. coli 0157. This is a type of variety or strain of E. coli that can cause intestinal problem. So all E. coli are not going to create problem except a few strains of E. coli. So here you can see that how E. coli will be appearing. Only one particular strain of E. coli 0157 / colon H7. That type of E. coli only causes the intestinal outbreak. What if E. coli are confirmed in my water? Confirm of E. coli in water system indicate recent fecal, this is important, recent fecal contamination. So if your water is containing E. coli, it is a sign that your water has been contaminated very recently, not older water contamination, very recent water contamination. That is the point you have to understand. That means this water has mixed with some kind of fecal bacteria very recently. Water system will issue a health advisory within 24 hours to alert all the water users of the health risk associated with the water supply. Then sometimes you might be reading in newspaper that this water may be contaminated. It is important that you boil the water before drinking. So important, especially this happens during rainy season. Rainy season, what happens is that this rainwater will be covering the septic tank, and water from the septic tank can also mix with the rainwater, and that water can later enter into well water or pond water. This is how the fecal bacteria is reaching the pond water. So it is an important thing that E. coli contamination is a site.
ടെക്സ്റ്റ് ബുക്ക് ആണെങ്കിലേ വാങ്ങി വെക്കാൻ പറ്റില്ല.
Okay. So these are about the E. coli. Then there is a disease known as amoebiasis. I will show you some picture of amoebiasis. So in case of amoebiasis, so here you can see these are the amoebiasis. It is a type of disease which is affecting intestine, and it is causing a lot of problems inside the intestine, and that disease is known by the name and this is caused by Entamoeba histolytica. Here, and most of the time it is entering your stomach from drinking sewage, non-treated drinking water. Sometimes you may be careless when water is kept, food is kept, houseflies are coming. These houseflies are a dangerous thing because they will be going to everywhere. We may not be sure where they have previously visited. So when that housefly is sitting on your glass or landing on your food, that means they will be putting lot of bacteria and going, and we are eating that food, that bacteria will be entering our stomach. So that is why the kitchen should be always free of housefly. So because otherwise these kind of problems will be there, especially amoebiasis caused by Entamoeba histolytica. Another kind of disease caused is a Giardia lamblia. Giardia lamblia is another kind of disease. So here this is also another disease of the Giardia lamblia will be appearing. So here this is a protozoan, and this is causing lot of problem, especially here also you can see that intestinal problem are the main problem. Then untreated water with poor disinfection, pipe breaks. So any water that has some kind of contamination, some kind of leakage can cause entry of this kind of bacteria known as Giardia lamblia. Then certain animals like beavers, muskrat create pond that act as reservoirs of Giardia. So most commonly Giardia is causing diarrhea, abdominal discomfort, bloating and flatulence. So these are some of the problems caused by Giardia. Here also you can see that Giardia lamblia, these are all the shape of the Giardia lamblia, how it appears. Then few more diseases are there, and we will be discussing more about that in our next class. So today just remember what is fecal bacteria, and also remember what are the important radiology chemical parameters of water, physical parameters of water, and also the biological parameters of water. So if there is a question regarding what are the different parameters of water quality, you have to explain under the 3 or 4 headings. So we stop here for today.